Are you a Black woman introvert? Have you been targeted at work? Have you been excluded from conversations? Have you dealt with microaggressions? All these things that try to break our confidence often and make us question our power. If so, this conversation is for you. So, this is 5 ways Black women introverts are targeted at work and how we can reclaim our power. My name is Marissa Price. I am a Black woman social worker. I'm a healing practitioner. I'm a freelance advocate, helping sensitive Black women heal, reclaim their power, and also build heart centered businesses. So if that sounds like right up your alley, please subscribe to my channel. If you are here live, please introduce yourselves in the comments so we can say hello. If you're watching on the replay, always comment below if something resonates. We learn in community on this channel just by sharing our experiences, resources with each other, what we've been through, how we've made it to the other side, all these things. So I'm so happy you're here. Thank you so much for joining if you are here live. I'm also the co-host of the upcoming Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black women, happening online May 16th through 18th. We have over 20 Black women speakers in total coming to share expertise, pivot plans, how they made their pivot. A lot of us are toxic job survivors ourselves, and how we reclaimed our power, right? And really woke up to the fact that we are beyond powerful. Even as introverts, a lot of us are introverts too, and really tapping into the power that we hold to make our pivots on our timelines out of toxic work environments, jobs that are no longer serving us, to design the lives of our dreams. And I see, hey, MJ, welcome. Thank you for joining. Yeah, so that's one thing, right? I'm learning. I'm also in the process of healing from a very toxic, traumatic work environment, which I've chronicled on my channel here. But yeah, just waking up to the fact that I can design my life, that I can create what I envision, right? That it's not for other people to do that, it's for me. And so that's what we'll be talking about at the Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black Women. If you're not already registered, I will drop the link in the chat, also in the description section. If you are looking to reclaim your power, I'm actually hosting a session on how to take your power back, how to own your skills, and rebuild your self-worth, which is a huge thing that I have been working through, that YouTube has really helped me with. And I do want to thank y'all so much. I crossed 4,000 subscribers. So thank you so much for supporting, for sharing everything that you've shared. This really feels like a safe corner of the internet for Black women, which is very rare. And I intend to keep it that way, right? I take that very seriously, that this is a safe place for us to share what we have been through, to process trauma, inviting on guests to share how they made their life transitions, how they accomplished what a lot of us are told are off limits. But they did it, right? And to find inspiration from that and to realize that nothing was ever wrong with you, right? Because we don't hear that enough. We really don't hear that enough. Nothing was ever wrong with you. And there can be a lot of healing found in that. So yes, thank you so much for all of your support. I'll say that. Hey, Shannon, thank you for joining. Hello, hello. Yes, so this is how Black women introverts are targeted at work. 5 ways. So if this resonates, if you're here live, if you identify as a Black woman introvert, have you been targeted at work? And this conversation was inspired by a recent event inside my Black Women Freelancers community, which, if you are not a member, this is a community of Black women freelancers globally. If you are looking to start a freelance business, and freelancing is just taking your skills that you've gained through different job experiences, through volunteer experiences, a lot of the things we do for free for people, things that people ask for our help with, and using that as a way to generate income. That is freelancing in a nutshell. But yes, Black women, we are so highly skilled. And again, the process of waking up to that fact can be a difficult one, because we have been told so often throughout our lives in different work environments that we're not skilled, right? Even though our skills kind of uphold a lot of these places. So it's a process of really waking up to the truth, reminding yourself who you've always been, the different experiences that you've had, and using that, taking your power back to generate income in different ways. That is the purpose of freelancing. And we just had a discussion in the community last week on networking for introverts. Me being an introvert, being a business owner, being a freelancer, this has been a journey of self-reclamation, right? In teaching myself, kind of changing my narrative, which I've talked about a lot of my channel, changing my internal narrative, right? That nothing is wrong with me being an introvert. This is just how I was designed, how I was created, and leaning into that as a strength as a business owner, which is what we talked about in this conversation that we had inside the community, networking for introverts. Because it's not off limits, right? You don't have to be an extrovert. You don't have to be pushy, like all these messages that we're taught to own a business, to pursue freelancing, part-time or full-time, whatever you want. You can use your unique gifts, the way you operate in the world, as an advantage when it comes to attracting clients who resonate with that message. And something I don't think we're told often enough either as Black women entrepreneurs. Hey, Min XOXO, good to see you here. Thank you for joining. MJ says, I'm an ambivert. Okay, with strong introversion in some areas. I love that. So ambivert is when you have traits of both being an extrovert and an introvert. So I love that. Thank you for sharing. S. Taylor, hello, welcome. Thank you for joining. Okay. So the first way that we are targeted often, our disposition is misunderstood, right? So we're often misunderstood as cold, angry, standoffish, stuck up. I've heard all these terms, right? And many times it's when I'm just in deep thought. So I'm not even necessarily thinking about the other person, but it's just a hyper focus on, I guess, the way that we operate, on our facial expressions. When we take time, right, often to process information, to let it sink in a little bit before we're comfortable responding. And so when you are in a toxic work environment, especially, and the spotlight is on you, right, especially being a Black woman already in these workplaces. Hey, Chris, thank you for joining. Good afternoon. Right, so the spotlight is already on us. And then when we are introverts, right, so there's an expectation based on stereotypes often of the way that we're supposed to show up in the workplace. When we are introverts, right, a lot of us are quiet, like I said, taking time to process things, letting things kind of sit before we're comfortable responding. That can trigger people in a toxic workplace, right? And then we'll be seen as, again, cold, angry, standoffish. If we're not smiling all the time, right, jumping into every conversation, making small talk. I hate small talk, right? We're seen as having an attitude even, right? And that's often projection. People are very uncomfortable with Black women introverts, I have found, especially in the workplace. Because again, we challenge the stereotypes that they may have of Black women, right? Just because this is our personality, this is our nature. And a lot of us I found we have very strong wills, right? So I'm not going to bend to what you perceive how I should be acting, right? Based on your stereotypes of Black women, often rooted in misogynoir. I'm just going to own the fact that I'm quiet, right? I take time to process things. I would rather be by myself most days. A lot of these are challenges to the images that we see of Black women so often, right? And so what people are often reacting to is our refusal to perform for them, for their comfort. And so just to affirm, right, you don't owe anyone a performance. To prove that you're approachable, to prove that you're likable, to prove that you deserve to be there, you don't deserve. Like, you don't have to do that. You can free yourself of that. You don't owe anyone a performance. You don't have to perform emotional labor, all these extra things of labor that Black women are expected to perform in the workplace outside of our job descriptions, right? Because we're often like doing the role so well. But I wanted you to smile when you said that. Well, that wasn't listed anywhere, right? And I'm not performing for you so that you can feel more comfortable with my presence. That has nothing to do with me. And so really sitting with that affirmation for yourself can be helpful, right? You don't owe anyone a performance. If you need time to process something, you need time to process something. And it's really sitting with that can be freeing. Hey, Maya. Good to see you here. Maya Spikes Writes. Welcome. Min XOXO says, yes, it's very true. Yes, the ones that are more extroverted and closer to the stereotype are usually favorites. They have their own challenges, though. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The harm of stereotypes, right? Even if you are an extrovert. Yeah, absolutely. Again, often rooted in misogynoir, which is misogyny specifically directed towards Black women. And all ooh, that could be a whole other conversation. The caricatures that we see in media so often. And so when a real person, right, with a complicated history, all of us have complicated histories. We're human. So there's that. There's often a level of dehumanization in the workplace. When that comes up against people's stereotypes and the caricatures they have floating around in their heads, that can be triggering to them, but it's not our problem. I think that's what I want to emphasize. Absolutely. I can never turn on the extroverted performance, though. Yeah, I'm no longer interested in doing so, as that leaves me winded, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. Yeah, there was a period of my life when I was really performing being an extrovert, being in the business world where you're expected to operate a certain way. Yeah, yeah, and just kind of at this point in my life, just refusing to perform anymore, just like shedding that. Because, like you said, it is exhausting. When you are masking day in and day out, you're not being true to yourself, right? And something we talked about during networking for introverts inside Black Women Freelancers last week, which is my community. You can join here, right? Knowing that being an introvert is not a problem. A lot of us have received the message that something is wrong with us just inherently because we're quieter, because we process things internally, because we need more time to sit with things before we're able to make a decision. In the society that we live in, right, it's often like viewed as a flaw, like a character flaw often. So just sitting with the fact that no, nothing's wrong with you. You're just an introvert. You're just an introvert. That's it. Freeing yourself from the shame around that can come from various places, workplaces, family members, childhood bullying. Sitting with the fact that you were designed how you are for a reason. And how can it be used as an advantage when you're operating in the world versus feeling like you have to take off these parts of yourself because that's really not sustainable. Something I'm realizing, right? We're told that it's just an expectation, that it's just something that we should be okay with, right? When we go into different environments, we know that we're going to have to take off parts of ourselves. But not everyone gets that message. Some people are really told, like, how you are is perfect. Don't change a thing, right? Be 100% of who you are in every environment that you enter into, and we see it. Right? Don't adapt to your surroundings. Don't take into account other people's feelings, how they perceive things. Just be you unapologetically 100% of the time. And so why do we receive the message that we have to take off parts of ourselves? That something is flawed within us. Right? Just really like probing deeper into that. Who does that benefit? When we are out here in the world thinking that we are incorrect, that we are flawed by design. Right? That can be a deeper issue of self-worth, which again, I'll be talking about at the summit. Rebuilding your self-worth, realizing that who you are is perfect. It's fine. That you should not have the expectation for yourself that you should take off parts of yourself to fit in. Really challenging that internal narrative that you may have developed over time and replacing it and knowing that you have the power to do that. Hey, DG, thank you for joining. Roly poly doll. Oh, I love that. I'm more of an introvert, even though an ambivert. Yes, when I became quiet and more to myself at work, some of my coworkers began to ask if I was stressed. I'm the only Black woman in my job. Yeah. Ooh. And I had an idea to talk about that too. Being the only one. Being the only one. And I appreciate you sharing that, right? Yeah. Again, misreading our disposition, misreading our facial expressions, as if we're stressed, right? I know that that's the way that I process. So I'm not necessarily stressed. I'm just processing, right? I'm just taking a second and no, I'm not going to smile while I'm processing because I'm not happy. Like it's being true to your own emotions because we're expected again to perform for other people. I want you to be happy and I want you to be smiling, right? So that's the expectation I have. And when you don't meet that, now I have a problem. That's a toxic environment. Expecting us to perform, to paste on a smile for other people's comfort, for other people's enjoyment. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Small talk. I'm like, I can't do small talk. Yeah. I hate how Black women introverts are treated, not just in all white spaces, but also in the Black community. That's very true. That's very true. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's a really good point. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, because often we have expectations, right, for ourselves too, based again on the narratives that we receive about ourselves, about how we should act, operate, um, in the process of internalizing these messages, right? We acted out on other people, on us, right? And then the bullying, right? The spotlight on you, making fun of people who don't fit in to those narratives. Yes, absolutely. Little twerker. Oh, I love that name. Welcome. Yes, I'm naturally introverted, but also the nature of my work required my focus and attention to detail. Too many zeros in my spreadsheet and disaster ensues. Leave me alone. Right? Right? Like I'm doing my job. I'm doing my job. I'm focusing. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, MJ says like our inner experience is there for consumption. That's it. Yep. Mm-hmm. That my emotions, right, the way that I'm interacting is for you. And that's often how it's presented, right? And it's a process of challenging those notions, those beliefs. My emotions are not for you. You don't own my emotions. You don't own my facial expressions. You don't own how I'm showing up today. You just don't own any of that, right? Owning your emotions for yourself, if you feel like smiling or you don't, and cutting the string that we're told to perform, right? No. Maya says that part about our own people expecting us to be extroverted. Yeah, if I hear why are you so oh my God. Maya. If I hear why are you so quiet one more time, yeah. Yeah. Ooh. Heard that quite a few times growing up. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also, like, I don't know if y'all can relate to this too, but like the word quiet, sometimes that doesn't even resonate with me. Because when I have something to say, right, I'll say it, but I need extra time to process, sit with it, reflect on it internally before I feel comfortable sharing. So it's not necessarily always that I'm quiet. I just need extra time, right? Because that label of quiet, sometimes that doesn't fit for me, but I'd love to hear your experience with it. Yeah. The second way Black women introverts are targeted at work. Our silence is used against us, right? So, again, if you're someone who listens deeply before you speak, or you prefer to think things through, people might say you're not engaged, you're not a team player. But the truth is, right, your silence is often your discernment. Your silence is often your discernment. And discernment is a strength, not a flaw, right? So even saying to yourself, right, I'm a reflective thinker. I like to take my time before I respond. Eliminating any shame that you may feel. If people have given you messages, right, that you need to speak immediately, that you need to ask a question when you don't have any questions formulated yet. Can you relate to that? Like, that's something I've experienced a lot of times. The pressure to ask a question, to make a comment before I've had time to really process the information. And that can cause anxiety. Something I just realized, right? The anxiety that can be caused when you're an introvert in high pressure environments that are expecting you to perform, to be on all the time, when you need time to sit with things before you're ready. And so the anxiety can come from like other people's expectations, because often we're sensitive too. So we feel other people kind of staring at us, wanting us to respond, wanting us to speak up, but we're not personally ready yet. Yeah. Yeah. It's like the bullying never stops. Yeah. From school days, family to the workplace. Yeah. 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 That's real. Yeah, and why, like, a big reason that I focus on childhood trauma, right? Especially as Black women introverts. A lot of our trauma goes all the way back to childhood, right? Early childhood, even. And it primes us to be in workplaces where we experience similar treatment. And so we think that's just the norm, something that we should expect to receive. People not getting us, people bullying us, people ostracizing us, right? Picking us apart, because that's what has happened throughout childhood, adolescence, right? And just coming into the realization that as an adult, you can take yourself out of that environment, that you no longer have to stay as you did when you were a child, right? Because we have very limited agency when we are children in these environments, even around family and school settings. But to know that as an adult, you can plan your pivot, which is the focus of the upcoming Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black women, May 16th through 18th online. Scrolling here on the screen, also put it up here. But yeah, that's the focus, knowing that you have the power to pivot, to plan your pivot on your timeline. Sometimes it takes a year, 2 years, more. But to know that you don't deserve to be harmed, and sitting with that message, right? And letting that kind of have a ripple effect throughout your life. You're not here to be harmed. And nothing's wrong with you. Because these are often attempts to strip us of our power. Because again, when you are quiet, when you notice things, when you're very observant, a lot of the times you're deeply connected to the truth. Right? And in these toxic environments, the truth, knowing the truth, immediately puts a target on your back. Right? And I think that's another issue that Black women experience in the workplace. Black women introverts. We're able to see things because we're highly observant. We take time to process. And that allows us to put the pieces together, right? Something's off. Something's not right, right? And naturally, that would be a trigger in a toxic work environment. But to know that the issue is not you is something I want to drive home, right? The issue is not you. The issue is the environment. Even if you need to repeat that over to yourself, right? The issue is not you. The issue is the environment. that can be helpful. Yeah, small talk can also mask attempts at intelligence gathering. Like they're trying to build a profile and figure you out. Yes. Yes. That's true. Yeah. Because a lot of people don't understand us, right? A lot of people don't get us. Why is she not talking? Because I don't have nothing to say, right? It's literally that simple. Um, but yeah, they try to probe deeper. Mm-hmm. That's so real. That's so real. Trying to build a profile on you. Yes. MJ, yes. Forced group activities and leadership training, especially with short time frames to come up with something. Yes. Ooh. Yeah, that makes me think about college. Yeah. The very short time frames to they give you, right, that you're expected to adhere to come up with an idea, to come up with a proposal, to give your feedback, when often we need more time to sit with things, to process them, to consider different avenues. And that is part of our intelligence. It's not a flaw, right? It's not a character flaw, it's a strength. But the very fast pace in human society that we live in, of course, sees that as a flaw, right? Because it contradicts the messaging that we're taught, how we're socialized often. And so the fact that you're able to hold on to those parts of yourself, wow, throughout all that social conditioning, that's huge. That's huge. Hey, Critic Chronicles. Good to see you. Late but made it. I love your popcorn emoji. Yes. Yeah, and I also have, let's see if we'll put the banner down. Summit merch, Liberated, which I designed. So, yes. If you have registered for the summit, it's at a tab at the top, the merch tab. Let me see if I can link it here too. All different merch options. Liberating yourself, hashtag liberated, journals, water bottles, t-shirts, all those things. I had fun designing these things. So yes, here's the link if you would like to purchase Summit merch. Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black Women merch. The third way, we're left out of key conversations or decisions, right? So because we're not constantly visible, often because that can drain our battery, we need time to ourselves, we need time to recuperate. People might assume that we're not interested in a topic, in a conversation, in a discussion, and then exclude us from those conversations, from the opportunities that may await. And again, this is about a system that often rewards performance over substance. And so a reframe here could be visibility does not mean you have to be loud, you have to be out there, you have to be constantly visible. You can make your visibility a strategic presence, right? So when you have the energy, when your social battery is recharged, often after spending some time alone, right, as introverts, right, going for that opportunity. And knowing that you don't have to operate like anyone else operates. There's a pressure to conform so often in these workplaces, right? But your individuality is what sets you apart. Owning these things that we're taught are flaws as strengths and the power that can exist in that. Yeah, Chris, first of her name. Yeah, so fascinating that strangers can get you when some in your own family don't. That's real. Yes, that's real. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I know, like, this community, I want to thank y'all so much again. Just crossed 4,000 subscribers, so thank you so much. But just communities like this where I have been able to share my story, hear from you all, what you have experienced, what you have survived, has been so healing for me, right? In the internet, there's a lot of ups and downs with the internet, but this is one of the benefits, I think, of being able to be in communities with other people who get you, who have similar life experiences to you, right? Who are navigating things like being a Black woman introvert in the workplace, right? Just to hear from other people that it's not you, because these experiences can make us feel very isolated. And I hope that the purpose or that you all feel from this community, right? That's one of the main reasons why I do this, is to remind us that we're not alone in what we're experiencing. Yeah. That's true. Yeah, but exclusion by design also. Oh, we knew you wouldn't want to attend the big meeting with the CEO. That's real. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Exclusion by design. Yeah. The fourth way, Black women introverts are targeted in the workplace, being pressured to overcompensate. So, over preparing, overperforming, burning out, just to prove that we belong, right? So, people act like we have to explain our existence so often. And so, a reminder may be you are enough as you are. You are enough as you are. Yeah. And kind of resisting that pressure internally, right? To feel like you have to overperform, overprepare, burn yourself out, because that mask can be heavy, right? Of trying to pretend to be extroverted when just really sitting in the fact that you're enough as you are can be so tremendously healing, right? Even in the times where you have to go out in public, right? Put on a different face than what you may be feeling inside, knowing that whenever you get to a safe space, you can take it off. The mask does not have to be plastered to your face. You can take the mask off, you can breathe and affirm to yourself, right, that you're designed intentionally. Being an introvert, being someone who needs time to process things is not a weakness, it's actually a strength. It's actually a strength. In the fifth way, right, bullies see us as easy prey so often, mistaking quietness for weakness, testing boundaries, undermining your ideas, trying to dominate conversations. This happened to me so often in that workplace. I would be saying something, and then the person who was the toxic manager, I guess, above me, would come in and just start talking over me, like I wasn't even talking. Right. So it's realizing that that is a toxic environment if you're experiencing that. That's not just par for the course of being in the workplace, right? That's actually disrespectful. Because even if you have a soft voice, even if you're quieter, right, you have something to say and you deserve to be heard. It's really important. So, knowing that you have the power to say something back, saying, I need a moment to think about that before I'm able to respond, or that tone doesn't work for me, right? In whatever ways that you're able to speak up, because I know that can be difficult. If you are an introvert with social anxiety, as I am, because that's another layer. Not only do I need quiet time to refuel, but I also have social anxiety, right? Because of my experiences throughout my life. So it's giving yourself radical self compassion, being gentle with yourself, but also realizing that you have the power to speak up for yourself in whatever way feels comfortable for you, right? If you can't do it in the moment, Tell yourself, next time I'm not going to let that fly, right? Because that was disrespectful. Oftentimes our bodies will respond to disrespect, mistreatment. And so understanding that feeling that pops up, I know for me, it's like a rush of heat in my chest and being like, you know what, next time this person says that to me, I'm actually going to say, I'm still talking, actually. And knowing that you have the power to do that, you do. Yes, they love to overpower you. Bullies are terribly insecure. That's it. Yeah. Terribly insecure. Yeah. And I think those of us with quiet confidence, we know what we're doing, right? We know what we're talking about. That intimidates people who feel like they have to be the loudest, be the one out there all the time without a lot of substance often, without really knowing what's going on, what they're doing, right? So that intimidates people like that. So even having understanding, that's what's going on right now. It's not me. My presence is intimidating this person. That's their issue. And then protecting and preserving yourself throughout that is so important. Yes, because extroversion is often automatically interpreted as team player behavior. That's it. Even when it's really just loud and wrong, totally lacking substance. Even when it's really just loud and wrong, lacking substance. That's it. That is it. Yeah. Thank you for that. Hey, Bliss. Yes, just joined, but I saw the thumbnail was like, yes, yes. Yeah. Hey, Donna. Yes, if bullies have expectations, you can have expectations of them too. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if bullies have expectations that you perform, I guess is how I'm reading this question, that you perform in a certain way, right? You still have the power to speak up. So even if you are on the quieter side, which I have, as I shared, that label doesn't always fit for me. But even if you need more time to process things, knowing that you can push back, right? I have expectations for you too. I have an expectation that you respect me, right? In the way that I operate. That can be a point of power too. Absolutely. Improve yourself. Yep. Constantly, constantly. I think that speaks to like overperforming, right? To try to prove ourselves that we belong in a place, that we deserve to be there. Whew. It's exhausting, right? So to know that a lot of us as Black women introverts experience the exact same thing in these workplaces, because it speaks to the systemic issues that we're encountering, right? The intersections of oppression that inform our experiences. So if you are experiencing this, know that you're not alone. Even if it feels like isolating, return to this video, right? The things that you all have shared in the chat. Okay, thank you. Yeah, the things that you all shared in the chat, right? Our experiences, realizing that we are being targeted, avoiding gaslighting yourself, that you made it up, right? That someone, they didn't mean it like that. If they say it more than once, right, and they don't apologize, chances are they meant it. And it was used as a way to try to break your power. Because people with quiet confidence really, really trigger people who are insecure, right? Like, yeah, like Lil Twerker mentioned, right? Who are extroverted, lacking substance. And I've always been that person. I don't need to be out in the front all the time to know that I understand what I'm doing. And that can trigger people who feel like they really need that. But again, that's not your problem. It's not your problem. So as we wrap up, remember, being quiet is not the problem. Being an introvert is not the issue. It's actually a strength. The issue is often the work culture, the work environment that confuses, right? Noise, being out there, being loud with value, and ignores the power of our quiet confidence and leadership abilities. So, yes, being an introvert, being a Black woman introvert is not a flaw. As we talked about last week in my Black Women Freelancers community, shout out to Narina for leading that discussion. And here's a link to join. If you'd like to join us over there, if you have an idea to start freelancing, if you're curious about it, if you already have a freelance business, if you're already an entrepreneur looking to connect with other Black women entrepreneurs, this space is created for you. When we have different like guest sessions, networking for introverts. Precious Pfeiffer did a session on preparing for tax season, which is really helpful, which I think I'm going to talk about on my Black Women Freelancers YouTube channel. My first official tax year as a freelancer, because that was an interesting process. But yeah, join us over there if you haven't already registered for the Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black women. Dropping that here too. I'll be speaking about how to take your power back, how to own your skill set, and rebuild your self-confidence after a toxic, traumatic work experience. Even if you've already left and you're in a job that you love, right? The job is not toxic. Sometimes the lingering effects, the trauma that you experienced, can sometimes still be impacting us. So I would encourage you to register and attend that session specifically, because I'll be speaking about that, right? How do you rebuild your self-worth and know that you were never the problem? You were never the problem. Bliss said you have me at taxes and networking for introverts. Thank you. Yes, yeah. Yeah, a lot of great sessions that we have. Quarterly business planning sessions, weekly accountability sessions. Again, if you're just starting, if you have an idea about being a freelancer, if you're already on this journey, I'm 2 years in at this point and still learning, right, about being a business owner, being a freelancer, the different areas and how to attract clients, all those things. So join us over there, Black Women Freelancers. And yeah, I think that's it. I want to thank y'all so much for being here. If you are interested in healing with me one-on-one, I do have the link to my breakthrough sessions that you can schedule here. Also in the description section if you are watching the replay. And yeah, just shout out to my wonderful clients who I've been able to work with. As a healing practitioner, right, it's also a process of your healing too. While you are helping people with the tools, right, the academic knowledge that you have, it's very much like a co-creation process of healing, which is how I look at it, right? Decolonial healing, knowing that we are our own greatest teachers, and eliminating the hierarchy, right, in mental health spaces, which is so needed, so needed. So yeah, thank y'all so much for being here. Again, this was 5 ways Black women introverts are targeted at work and how to reclaim your power. Hope this was helpful. If you like this video, please like it. If you're watching on the replay, please leave a comment below so we can learn from each other. And yeah, until next time, y'all, thank you so much for joining me. Bye.